We are calculating the time complexity. Suppose we have this program main. This we have for loop I is equals to 1, I less than n, and I is equals to 2 into I. And another further for loop for I is equals to n, j is equals to greater than equals to 1, and j is equals to j by 2. So in which we have one statement x is equals to y plus z. Then what will be the time complexity for this? As we have this first loop 2 into I. So initially what will the I value? I value will be 1, then it will be 2 into I, then it will be 2, then 2 into 2, then 4, then 8, then 16, then 32, then 64, then 128, like this. The value will be like this. Or from here we can see clearly what is the value of j. J is opposite of this because it is saying j by 2. Suppose if I value is 128, because here I is equals to n and j always greater than equals to 1 until loop will go on, and in every time j value will be j is equals to j by 2. Suppose if n is equals to 128, then initially suppose if n is equals to 128, then what will be the next value? It will be 64, then 32, then 16, then 8, then 4, then 2, then 1. Like this it will go on. So from here we can see that value is equals to log n base 2. These both values will be equals to log n because it start like this 1 2 4 8 16 32 64 128, and from this I loop, and for the second for loop in which we are taking j, its value is in decreasing order. One is giving increasing order and one is giving decreasing order, but both are log n values, because if log 0 log 2 to the power 0 is equals to 1, initially it is 1, then log 2 to 1 1, then log 2 base 2, then value will be 2, like this. So these values are log n. So what will the time complexity? According to this also it is log n, and according to this also it is giving log n. So what will be the time complexity? Time complexity will be log n base 2 whole square, because both are giving log n. So the time complexity will be log n whole square. Or suppose if we have this for loop, instead of this for loop in the same program, if we have for I is equals to 1, I less than is equals to n, and I is equals to I plus plus, then what will the time complexity? As we discussed earlier in the program, in the last lecture, then what was the time complexity? Time complexity will be order of n. Time complexity was the order of n. If I is equals to 1, I less than n, and I plus plus. So here what will the time complexity for this for loop? If in the same program, instead of this for loop, if this for loop belongs, then this will be order of n and this will be log n. Then what will be the time complexity? Time complexity will be order of n log n. Time complexity will be n log n, because it will give log n and it will give, this loop will give n and this loop will give log n. So the time complexity will be n log n. So now move to the next. Suppose if we have program main x initially 0 for I is equals to 1, I less than is equals to n, and I plus n for j is equals to n, j greater than equals to 1, and j is equals to j by 2, and x is equals to x plus n. So this for loop closed, this for loop closed, and this main closed. So as we know, as we see here also, what will the time complexity for this for loop? It will be n. And for this also, what will the time complexity? From here we have seen log n. So log n, but why it will be log n? Because x value is initially 0 and x is equals to x plus n. So every time n added, so we have to run all the time, so it will run also n time. So the time complexity will be according to this log n. But here we can see x is equals to 0 initially, and here every time n is added, so that's why it will also run n time. Every time n is added here, that's why it is also run n time. That's why our time complexity will be n square log n. What will the time complexity? N square log n, because according to this we know n, according to this we know log n from the last example. But here x is equals to x plus n, and here initially x is equals to 0. So every time n value is adding here is, so that's why it will also run n time. That's why the time complexity will be n square log n. N square log n. So in the same program, if we suppose for I is equals to 1, I less than is equals to n, and I is equals to I into 2, I is equals to I into 2, then what will the time complexity? In the same program, if we change this for loop to from this to this, then what will the time complexity? From here I is equals to 1, I less than n, I is equals to I into 2. If we have I into 2, then what will be the time complexity? As we seen, I into 2 or 2 into I is the same thing. So from here we can see the time complexity for this for loop. What is the time complexity? Log n. So this will be log n. So this is log n. If we replace this for loop from this for loop, so log n, this also log n, this also log n, and this is n. So what will the time complexity? Time complexity will be order of n log n whole square, order of n log n whole square, because for this loop log n, for this loop log n, or for this statement n. So that's why time complexity will be n log n whole square.